Several years ago, I was chilling out with a random alternative indie playlist going on in the background. And you know how when you're listening to new playlists, the songs can start blending together since not every song is going to strike that internal chord. Plenty of great songs go by, and then this track CZ plays. And as soon as that synth bass line hit, I was floating. It's one of those tracks that speaks volumes just through its atmospheric composition. The production elicits so much depth and narrative that it instantly transports you to a different plane. Immediately after the song ends, I add it to one of my personal playlists, see that it was made by an artist named Mk.gee, and that was that. Because of how much I enjoyed the track, I simply assumed that this was his best song. It's too common of an occurrence that I hear a really great song from an artist only to be disappointed by the loads of flops that make up their discography. It wasn't until the release of his most recent album, 2-Star and the Dream Police, that I really started indulging in more of his works. And it was a 50-foot rabbit hole from there. Around that time was also when I learned that his artist name is actually pronounced McGee. The funny thing is, he actually has a project titled Pronounced McGee, and if I would have just taken a look at his releases, I would have seen that much sooner. I'm saying this solely to express the reservations I held towards him as an artist, since I genuinely believe that CZ was just an astronomical one-off from the rest of his releases. But I soon found out that was absurdly contrary to the reality of his music. After diving into the rest of McGee's discography, as well as checking out his live performances, I found his music to carry a steady sense of comfort. It's evident he lays so much of his personality out in his music, and that passion really flows through to the listener. McGee even takes us a step further with his live music videos, as the visuals feel like they convey an accurate interpretation of the emotional mood he's expressing within the songs. The icing on the cake that really sealed the deal with McGee becoming one of my new favorite artists is the guitar playing. I could hear the guitar-like references throughout his songs, but most artists that showcase such alluring vocal productions either have someone else that plays guitars for their productions, or they're just dropping in programmed instruments. And since the guitars throughout his work have a very synthesized sound, I assume the latter. So once I began actually seeing him perform the instrumentation for his songs across both the piano and guitar, I developed a higher level of respect for his artistry. I was even more surprised to witness that he's actually quite a proficient guitar player. McGee's approach to writing guitar melodies is emotional in all the right ways, and his execution feels so original and refreshing, which I feel is becoming less and less prevalent across a lot of today's artists. The way McGee incorporates guitar playing isn't overbearing either. In some songs like Candy, they have a more emphasized presence, but for the most part they're used as a feature to help drive the melody, which isn't the most common for someone who expresses such a high level of fluency when it comes to their guitar playing capabilities. His style of playing is such a delightful blend of traditional feel and modern harmonizing, making it easy for anyone to appreciate. It's not like you have to understand what's going on in order to enjoy it, since the musical expression is carried out so well. The guitar playing itself is delicate, but the melodic components are vibrant, to say the least. Seeing artists branch out into these contemporary styles is so exciting to watch take place. The textured tones and styles he's able to extract from the guitar are something that truly sets him apart. And he's achieved a sound that's so pleasurable on the ears when everything comes together. Between McGee's ambient productions, gentle vocals, and sentimental guitar playing, there's so much to resonate with for both musicians and casual listeners. As I became more familiar with his music and listened through all of his releases, I noticed a progression of intimacy throughout his sound. It's as though over time, McGee's music became more and more of an extension of himself. If you were to compare his earliest release, the full EP, to his most recent album, you can juxtapose the maturation of his sound. It's almost like he went from just making the music to becoming it. The full EP did demonstrate some of the dark ambience that he seems to be most known for now, but overall it was a lot brighter and more upbeat than 2-Star and the Dream Police. The same goes for Pronounced McGee, which was the album that followed. The music was still good, but it did possess a level of genericism. Not at the level of imitation, but as I listened through the album, there were several artists who came to mind that I thought shared a similar sound to some of the tracks on that project. Toro y Moi being one of them. for those of you that may get that reference. Once I got to McGee's 2020 album, A Museum of Contradiction, I started to hear all of those influences come together in a unique manner. And it really foreshadowed the style that was to be demonstrated in 2 Star and the Dream Police, which I can say isn't quite like anything I've heard before. While I was still able to get a good idea of who McGee was as an artist through his older projects, personally, I don't think any of them came close to telling that story in the way that his latest release was able to. And I can't be the only one that feels this way, because this release seems to be his most acclaimed project since CZ. The ominous and raw feel of the music from McGee's past 2 albums are really the attributes that I tend to seek out for this style of music. It's dark, but in the nostalgic way, and the contrast between bright and gloomy elements throughout his musical arrangements creates this syncopated push and pull that builds an emotional sensation as you listen. And a characteristic of that project that I absolutely admire is its realism. The tracks, as well as the visuals that complement them, are so effective in building an emotion and bottling it into a work of art. The passion, the journey, the struggles, it's all there. And for me, I have this soft spot for abstract creative works. The elusiveness of McGee's vocals, where you can't always make out what's being said, and the way he restructures the syllables of words feels to me like such a pure form of communication. When you're actually conveying an idea to a group of people, there's always going to be some variance in how that message is perceived. If you were to talk about something random like a wildfire, some people may think of a bush instead of a tree, some may think in more metaphorical terms than literal, and some may hear you incorrectly and misconstrue your message entirely. That's how McGee's music comes across for me. His music as a whole feels like he's laying out the pieces, but leaving it up to the listener to decide how to best fit them together. The touch of vagueness and room for interpretation is an aspect that I really admire in McGee's artistry. Even his artist name McGee I find to be so intriguing. On paper, it's the prefix equivalent of Mr., but when spoken out, it creates a name, which I think is so cool. To most people, it's probably whatever, but I tend to geek out on subtle but effective artistic selections, so I just had to point it out. And it's possible that that's not at all what he's intending, but regardless, I'm such a huge fan of presenting concepts that have the ability to be deciphered in different ways, because I think it's in that gray area that you can really reach people at a more internal level. The fondness I've developed for McGee's sound isn't something I come across often at all. And after following his works and learning more about him as an artist, it seems as though there's many others that have also fallen victim to hearing that one really good song and developing a fixation from there. Even the prominent status he has developed within the guitar community was something that surprised me, since his playing is light years from the trending virtuosic style of playing. As someone who has fairly recently become immersed in McGee's works, I can do nothing but applaud his execution when it comes to musical performance and technical efficiency. I just love what he's doing. There's plenty of you that know a lot more about him that I've yet to discover, so if there's anything interesting that you'd like to bring me up to speed on, just share it down below in the comments. Seeing this change in dynamic when it comes to the meta of guitar playing makes me thrilled to hear the new works that will be emerging from artists in the years to come. Music seems to be reaching this pinnacle of contemporary fusions, and I really enjoy honing in on artists bringing forth new sounds. And my favorite aspect above all is that this will inspire younger artists to make music that isn't just gimmicky, but music that will resonate with an audience musically. I believe there's so much that can be taken away from McGee's approach to music, and I will be continuing to follow his works in the future. If you enjoyed the video, agreed with me, or disliked what I had to say, a like and sub would just be greatly appreciated. As always, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.